Okay, so good evening, and thank you all for once again joining us for this very special event, our seventh day of celebrating the 30th anniversary of Ajaan Geoff's arrival to stay at Mettā Forest Monastery in Valley Center, California on May 28th, 1991. To honor Than Ajaan's dedicated hard work and teaching over the decades, a group of his students has decided to come together for 7 days of meditation in a paṭipatti-pūjā, or homage through practicing the Dhamma in line with the Dhamma each day at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific time for the past 7 days through today. And today, June 3rd, happens to be an extra special day because today also marks the Uposatha day of Visākha Aṭṭhamī. According to the Mahāparinibbāna Sutta, which is Digha Nikaya 16, the death of the Buddha and his total unbinding occurred on the full moon of the month of Visākha, an event by which tradition states also coincides with his birth and awakening. And that date is celebrated by Buddhists as Visākha Pūjā. 1 week later, on the last quarter moon of the month of Visākha, the Buddha was cremated and his ashes and his relics were divided amongst his followers, an event which is now celebrated by Buddhists as Visākha Aṭṭhamī. And this year, Visākha Pūjā occurred on May 26th, and Visākha Aṭṭhamī occurs today on June 3rd. So the fact that the celebration of this momentous event coincides with the 7th day of our paṭipatti-pūjā to Than Ajaan is truly remarkable indeed. So tonight's session will again begin with a chant from the chanting guide of the Dhammayut order. Tonight we will be chanting the Buddha Jaya Mangala Gatha, the verses of the Buddha's victory blessings, along with a recording of the Sangha of Mettā Forest Monastery chanting this passage. Additionally, following this chant, we will briefly review a passage from the Mahāparinibbāna Sutta that recounts a teaching of the Buddha on paṭipatti-pūjā as he was nearing the time of his death. And then finally, we will also chant the last words of the Buddha before his total unbinding, which is a very brief but profound teaching, along with a recording from Ajaan Geoff from Mettā Forest Monastery. And following the chanting, we'll begin the meditation as we listen to a previously recorded Dhamma talk from Ajaan Geoff, again, which has been selected by one of his many students from the Facebook group for Friends of Mettā Forest Monastery. And at the end of the meditation, we will have an opportunity to dedicate goodwill and the merit of our practice to Ajaan Geoff and to anyone else to whom you feel so inclined, such as the other members of the Sangha, the Thai Forest Ajaans, or to all beings. Again, each Zoom meeting can accommodate up to 100 participants. If we ever exceed that capacity on Zoom, the meeting is also being simultaneously broadcast to YouTube and to the Facebook group for Friends of Mettā Forest Monastery. So during the Zoom session, you can keep your videos on or off, but we do ask that you please keep your microphones muted during the chanting and the meditation. If you have any questions, if you need anything at any point, you can just type a request into the Zoom chat, into the YouTube chat, or into the Facebook comment section, and we'll be happy to assist you as quickly and as quietly as possible. And additionally, if anyone would like to write any messages of goodwill or empathetic joy to Than Ajaan on this momentous occasion, we will be saving the Zoom and the YouTube chats and the Facebook comments at the end of the meeting, and we'll pass on well wishes to him afterwards. So now let's begin by bowing 3 times to pay homage to our teacher, the Buddha. And now let's bow 3 times to pay homage to our teacher, Ajaan Geoff. And now let's begin by chanting the Buddha Jaya Mangala Gatha, the verses of the Buddha's victory blessings, along with a recording of the Sangha of Mettā Forest Monastery.
I just wanted to mention that anybody who's interested in continuing the meditation on a weekly basis, could you please stay afterwards to chat about it? Thank you.
Pahung sahasamabhinimita saudhantang Rime kalang udita kora sasena marang Anadi dhamma vidhina chittava munindo Tande jasa bhavatu te jaya mangalangang Maratire kamapi yojita sambarating Koram panala wakamakamata tayakam Kante sudanda vidhina chittava mulindo Tande jasa bhavatu te jaya mangalangang Nala giringa javarang atimata bhutang Dawagi chakamasane vasudarunantang Mettā Museka vidhina chittava mulindo Tande jasa bhavatu te jaya mangalagang Ukita kangamati hatha sudarunantang Tavanti yojana patanguli malavantang Idhi pisankata mano chittava munindo Tande jasa bhavatu te jaya mangalagang Atvan gatamudarang ivagabhiniya Cinchaya dutavachanang janakaya majhe Sante nasoma vidhina chittava mulindo Tande jasa bhavatu te jaya mangalagang Satchang vihaya mati satchagavara getum Vada piro pitamanang ati antaputang Panya paripachalito chittava mulindo Tande jasa bhavatu te jaya mangalagang Nando pananda pujagang vikudhang mahidhing Buddhena tera pujagena dhamma payanto Idhu padesa vikina chittava mulindo Tande jasa bhavatu te jaya mangalagang Dunga aditi pujagena sudattahatang Brahman visuddhi jyotimedhi bhagabhidhanang Yana gatena vikina chittava mulindo Tande jasa bhavatu te jaya mangalagang Eta vibhuta jaya mangala antagatha Yo vachano dinadine sarate matandi Hitvanane kavividhani chubadhavani Mokhang sukhang adhigameya naro sapanyo.
And now, I'd just like to briefly review one of the last teachings of the Buddha on paṭipatti-pūjā from the Mahaparinibbāna Sutta, Digha Nikaya 16. And so then the Blessed One said to Venerable Ananda, Ananda, the twin sal trees are in full bloom, even though it's not the flowering season. They shower, strew, and sprinkle on the Tathagata's body in homage to him. Heavenly coral tree blossoms are falling from the sky. Heavenly sandalwood powder is falling from the sky. Heavenly music is playing in the sky. Heavenly songs are sung in the sky in homage to the Tathagata. But it is not to this extent that a Tathagata is worshipped, honored, respected, venerated, or paid homage to. Rather, the monk, nun, male lay follower, or female lay follower who keeps practicing the Dhamma in accordance with the Dhamma, who keeps practicing masterfully, who lives in accordance with the Dhamma, that is the person who worships, honors, respects, venerates, and pays homage to the Tathagata with the highest homage. So you should train yourselves. We will keep practicing the Dhamma in accordance with the Dhamma. We will keep practicing masterfully. We will live in accordance with the Dhamma. That's how you should train yourselves. And now we'll briefly chant the last words of the Buddha, his final teaching, in observance of Visākha Aṭṭhamī, and in remembrance of the Buddha in the final moments just before his death.
The chanting of this chant is being led by Than Ajaan of Wat Mettā. He is kindly pronounce and lead the chant for us today.
Amantayami wo bhikkhave pativedayami wo bhikkhave kaya vaya dhamma sankhara appamadena sampadethati. Amantayami wo bhikkhave pativedayami wo bhikkhave kaya vaya dhamma sankhara appamadena sampadethati. Amantayami wo bhikkhave pativedayami wo bhikkhave kaya vaya dhamma sankhara appamadena sampadethati.
It seems that Dave may have lost some connection, so we will continue with our practice by listening to the Dhamma talk of Than Jeffrey. And this last talk is titled Network of Goodness. And we will start the meditation now.
When the Buddha explained karma, he said two things that seem on the surface very strange. One is, there is what is given, and the other is, there is mother and father. But in both cases the message is very similar. It's because we have choices that giving has meaning, and that we have a debt to our parents, and a debt to all those who've been helping us, a debt of gratitude. So even though as we're meditating alone. No one else can do the meditation for us. We have to remember the fact that we're here means that we have a lot of debts, because there were people who chose to help us. even our parents. There are cases we know that parents don't want an extra child, and here comes a child. But they had the choice. They could have aborted the child, they could have snuffed it out, but they didn't. In Thailand, when a young man is about to be ordained, there's a long chant about the debt that he has to his parents. I've heard these chants go on for 2 hours, and for a good 1 hour and 45 minutes it's the mother's pregnancy woes. The fact that you moved into somebody's body and took that person's blood and flesh, and they had no choice in who you were. We tend to forget that. So it's good to remember that however good our parents were, however deficient they were, still we owe our lives to them. As the Buddha said, they introduced us to the world. And so if they've passed away, dedicate tonight's meditation to them. If they're still around, think thoughts of gratitude. And think about how you might respond to their goodness. The Pali term gatanyu means having a sense of what was done. Gatawedi means having a feeling that goes along with that sense, the feeling of wanting to repay. And if nothing else, wanting to carry on the goodness, whatever goodness we've learned from our parents, from our teachers. We realize they had the choice to help us or not. And if we have gratitude for that, it will inspire us to be helpful to others, to choose to be helpful in cases where we see that it's going to be beneficial. So to have the strength to be helpful, we meditate. It's not the only reason why we meditate, of course, but it is one of the reasons. There's that picture of Theravadins as being selfish, concerned only for themselves. But when you read about the Buddha's explanations of the different motivations we might have for wanting to practice, one of them is that those who have helped us will benefit. If we gain any of the noble attainments, the benefits go back to those who helped us. So this is a principle. Goodness spreads around, happiness spreads around. It doesn't have clear boundaries. There is the happiness of the world, which does tend to have clear boundaries. Somebody gains something usually means somebody else had to lose it. A gain in status means somebody else didn't get that particular status. But in the goodness of the Dhamma, nobody loses. When you practice generosity, when you choose to give, okay, you benefit. Your mind gets more expansive, and you realize that you're not a slave to your selfishness. And of course, the people who receive your gift benefit as well. Same with virtue. There are a lot of people out there who are very happy that you're not breaking the precepts. Otherwise you'd be oppressing them one way or another, people, beings. And of course you benefit. And with the meditation, the fact that you're getting your mind under some control means that you're going to be the primary beneficiary. But of course it's going to spill out to other people. If you have less greed, anger, and delusion roaming around in your mind, the less they're going to go out and bite other people. This is part of the Buddha's genius, was realizing that happiness can be found in such a way that the fact that you make yourself happy increases the happiness of others. So when we think of the goodness that has been done for us, one of the desires should be to pass it on. We can repay those who helped us. That's good. If they're not around to repay, we pass it on to somebody else. This is a way in which our goodwill becomes more expansive, because we think there is this network of goodness, and it's not something that's naturally there. It's there because of a choice. Remember, gatanyu, a sense of what was done. What was done was chosen. Somebody chose to do something good. They didn't have to. It wasn't built into their nature. It was a choice. And when you appreciate that, you realize, okay, you have the choice to do something good as well. And you don't want that goodness to disappear from this world. There seems to be so much that's moving in the wrong direction in the world. People are getting more and more divisive. So the best way to counteract that is to try to continue this network of what goodness has been done so far, and make sure it doesn't die out. And remember, it is a choice. So try to be wise in choosing how to pass on that goodness. We have goodwill for everybody. There's no reason for any restraints on a goodwill. In terms of our generosity, there's a limitation on our strength. You're going to be generous with material things, there'll be a limitation there. There'll be limitations on your knowledge. The things you have to share do have their limitations. So you're trying to choose the best way to be generous. But try to keep that goodwill going, even in cases where you can't help other people. Still have goodwill for them, because maybe someday there will be the possibility that you can, or that they can help you. So think of goodness as a choice. After all, that's why the Buddha brings up these topics in the context of karma. He's making the point that we have choices. Our actions are not determined by the stars, or not everything is determined by past karma even. We have fresh choices every moment. And it's because we have those fresh choices that generosity has meaning, that gratitude has meaning. So we're part of an extended network. In Thailand, I have you think not only about your parents, but also about your teachers. I tried that one time, thinking of all the people I'd had as teachers. Spread goodwill to them. It took all morning. Of course, when you realize how much help you've received, you can add people whose books you've read that you benefited from, people who've learned from in other ways. You think about this network of goodness, this network of good choices. It's what makes human life valuable, bearable even. So do your best to keep it up.
At the end of the meditation, we encourage everyone to dedicate goodwill and the merit of our practice to our teacher, Ajaan Geoff, and to anyone else to whom you feel so inspired, such as the rest of the Sangha, the Mettā Forest Ajaans, or to all beings. And now you can open your eyes. And as we come to a close, let's once again bow 3 times to pay homage to our teacher, the Buddha. And now, let's bow 3 times to pay homage to our teacher, Ajaan Geoff. Thank you all for joining us tonight for Visākha Aṭṭhamī and for the 7th and final day of paṭipatti-pūjā in honor of Ajaan Geoff's 30th anniversary at Wat Mettā. Words cannot express the gratitude that we have for the gift of his teachings and for his contributions in the establishment of the community at Mettā Forest Monastery. May we make good use of Ajaan Geoff's gifts to the world and practice the path ardently, alertly, and mindfully towards the ultimate goal of unbinding. May all beings be happy. 30th anniversary at Wat Mettā. Words cannot express the gratitude that we have for the gift of his teachings and for his contributions in the establishment of the community at Mettā Forest Monastery. May we make good use of Ajaan Geoff's gifts to the world and practice the path ardently, alertly, and mindfully towards the ultimate goal of unbinding.
If you would like to stay behind, Dave has something to announce, right, Dave? For our continue practice together.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us throughout this week of honoring Than Ajaan. If we had been considering continuing the meditation on the Uposatha days, basically the cycles of the moon, the new moon, the first quarter, the full moon, and the last quarter, as is ancient practice in Buddhist practice. And so the monastery at Wat Mettā is generally every night at 8 o'clock is engaging in chanting, meditation, Dhamma talk with Ajaan Geoff. So it seems like a good time. That's why we picked this time to coordinate with the times when the monastery is having their meditation. So it's kind of like we're doing it along with them. And so we were thinking that on the Uposatha days, we could basically host a similar format meditation with a brief chanting, a Dhamma talk by Ajaan Geoff, and meditation together. The full moon, Mettā Forest Monastery, has for the past year been allowing us to broadcast their meditation as well as the chanting and Ajaan Geoff's Dhamma talk for the evening. And so on the full moon Uposatha days, instead of this meditation, we would be just observing from online the meditation at the monastery. So would just be interested in seeing if anybody would have interest in this type of an activity for ongoing meditation in the future. You could, of course, raise your hands with Zoom if you know how to do that in the reaction section, or you could raise your hands in real life, and or if anyone has any comments or anything they'd like to suggest.
Excuse me. May I make a comment? I'm very sorry that I wasn't on time because the electricity disappeared. So please forgive me, but I meditated on my own and dedicate my merit to you.
Yes, thank you, Malia. It's good to have you with us.
If anybody has any suggestion about the format, or would like to see something different, we're welcome to hear your input.
The best way to discuss, I believe, would be to, I guess, if you're part of the Facebook group for Mettā Forest Monastery, then you could, of course, send just some comments to Suganya or to myself, and you could feel free to send us a Facebook message. You could also email us. I can type my email into the chat. Questions? And so feel free to, if you would like to participate, or if you have any ideas for suggestions for the format, as Suganya mentioned, feel free to just contact us through Facebook or through email. Maybe Suganya, if you want to type your email into the chat as well, then they could also have your contact information too.
We will try or attempt to ask maybe some monk at Wat Mettā maybe to lead our chant and sit with us, but I don't know if that's gonna happen.
It would be very nice if they could do that. Of course, it would depend on their free time. So we'll try to look into that.
Dave, old habits are hard to kick. I see Philip's phone's hand is raised, so maybe there's a comment there, or is it just to support the idea of meditating?
Oh, just want to support the idea to meditating, and whenever it starts,
Okay, good. Sorry.
Yeah. So there have been, I think Bob has suggested that she thinks that this is not long enough. Does everybody think the same?
Just once in a while, not like every time, but this week was special, right? It's special, but like maybe once in a while if people want to. I know the Bellingham Insight Group, they do a Saturday once a month where they go from like 9 to noon, and they do 45 minutes and a 15-minute break and 45 minutes and a 15-minute break, and that's kind of nice to do once in a while. But just to kind of throw it out there, if anybody, it's so nice to have everyone practicing together, via Zoom, all the companions practicing together. So just nice. But I really do like the idea too of if any of the bhikkhus volunteered to sit with us or give a little talk or something too at the beginning, chanting at the beginning.
Yeah, thank you, Barb. I think it's a great idea that sometimes we could have different lengths of meditation. 1 hour is a decent amount of time, but sometimes even longer would be great. I believe the full moon broadcast we do from the monastery tend to run longer than an hour, about an
Mhm.
hour and a half, sometimes closer to 2 hours. I think it depends on the nature of what's going on that day, because very often it's a holiday, like Mettā Pūjā, Visākha Pūjā, Visākha
Right.
Pūjā. And so it seems like we have longer meditations on the full moon.
It is also longer because Than Ajaan,
based on the cycle of the moon.
yeah, Than Ajaan gives a longer talk, and also he speaks in both Thai and English, so that's kind of extending the Dhamma talks like twice as long.
Yeah, that's nice too. Maybe there was another group in Thai, but I like having the Thai, even though I don't know Thai, but having the English and the Thai is nice. But then you have a longer sit because the time starts after the talks are done, right? Yeah.
Can I just say, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Susan.
Oh, hi, everybody. Can I just say that sometimes the you can't hear, or I can't hear, the Dhamma talks from the main hall on these nights because of the sound quality. I don't know if this is a problem, or yeah, that's my only problem is I've joined and I can't hear what's going on.
Yes, there are certain technical problem, certain days and it's the temple doesn't have internet access, so we're relying on the cellular phone, a cellular signal, and it depends. Sometimes the weather's good, you get a very good signal at a certain spot. So we're sorry about that.
That's okay, thank you. But that wouldn't interfere in our meeting, would it?
No.
No. Okay.
It would only be an issue on the full moon days when the broadcast is from the monastery. I do know that there was a recent broadcast where Ajaan Geoff was, I believe he was in quarantine, and so he had pre-recorded the Dhamma, and so when the time came for the broadcast, he wasn't there in person, so it was like a recorder that was playing his Dhamma talk, and that was very difficult to pick up on the broadcast. One idea we had thought about was if he has to do that, then we could always try to obtain the recording in advance and play that directly as part of the broadcast. That may help with audibility on those situations, and on the others, we'll try to optimize microphone sound as best we can.
So on that particular day, especially when Than Ajaan record, the people who play his recording are the monks in the sala, and they play it through a microphone. And actually that day, even people that were there at the sala couldn't hear. And we weren't allowed to go inside the sala, so we could just jump up and down or whatever to try to let them know that we couldn't hear anything. And by the time they know what's going on, it just the Dhamma talk's over.
Oh, thank you for that explanation. It's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up, Susan. We'll do our best to try to make the audio quality the best we can, in those broadcasts and also in our own meetings together. So it's very exciting that we'll be able to do this on a regular basis, try it out. Hopefully there'll be plenty of interest and participation. And as the Buddha said, admirable friendship is the whole of the holy life. And so this opportunity that Suganya has put together through the Facebook group and through all the community worldwide from so many countries to be able to meet together during the time when the Sangha at Wat Mettā is meditating, for us to also meditate together is really a wonderful thing. So really appreciate it. Thank you, Suganya, for all your efforts. And thank you to everyone for participating.
And thank you, everybody. You are such a good example for me. You're such an inspiration. And I hope to be practicing and growing and be better with you as a guide.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone.
One question. Is the plan to meet nightly like this?
It would be on the Uposatha days. So the new moon, the first quarter moon, the full moon, the last quarter moon. it's
Can we
basically
try-
4 times.
Can we try once a week, or, you know?
Yeah, it would be, it would
Sorry.
pretty much be once a week.
Sorry to interrupt, but if anyone is not on the email list where we send out that information, please write to lagunasangha@gmail.com if you're not on, if you don't receive the monthly newsletter that we put out, so that you would know when the Upasatta days are, and maybe we could announce it in the newsletter.
Yeah, in fact, the monastery has a calendar, and I can share the link for that, where they list all of the Upasatta days for the year.
Oh, good.
And so I think we'll base our schedule off of that, but I'll share my screen so you can see that real quickly. It's when you go to the monastery's website, they have this link on whatmetta.org/news/upasatta2021.pdf. And it basically lists all of the days. So anything listed as a full moon day is going to be a broadcast from the monastery with a real-time Dhamma talk from Ajaan Geoff, as well as chanting with the real-time chanting with the Sangha and meditation real-time with all of them. The other days, the new and the half moons would be basically us meeting together as lay people to practice together. I'll send this to a link to the chat as well.
I also forgot to mention every day that Than Ajaan has wanted to relay the message that he had sent the goodwill to us every day while we meditate. And he was joking that he hoped it doesn't crash with the goodwill that we sent it to him.
That's funny.
So tremendous gratitude to Ajaan Geoff, 30 years at Wat Mettā, and hopefully many, many more.
And for
all of
our
you,
continuing practice, I'm sorry. If you wanted to suggest any Dhamma talks, please get in touch with us so that we could play in our meditation session.
Yeah, we could probably put a post on Facebook every month and say, anyone who have any Dhamma talk suggestions for the month, we'll make a list and we'll just go through them, which would be very nice. So thank you so much, everyone. It's really an honor and a privilege to be friends in the Dhamma, Kalyana Mitata, with all of you. And wishing you all the smoothest and the most fruitful practice in your path. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dave, and all the organizers. May everybody be well.
Thank you so much. Your efforts are wonderful, and we've benefited greatly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Have a good sleep. Bye-bye.
Bye.